I literally didn't leave my mom's house for 3 months straight because I was just like terrified.
Is SMMA dead?
So grew up in addiction and stuff like that. So give yourself some receipts to look at. Like everyone that you see online is not as smart as you think.
You thought that the weed was the reason for the Facebook ad success.
I remember waking up in jail.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another interview. I'm joined by Michael Schreiber. Super excited to have him on because he's got tons of experience in a traditional, just like hyper successful SMMA agency, which, you know, there's lots of rumors going around right now that this rumor or this model is dead, and Michael's proving that wrong every day. Michael, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
I want you to, first of all, give us a tiny background on yourself, kind of when you got into this space, how long you guys have been doing it, and where you're at now.
Yeah, man. Background on me, I grew up in a pretty rough childhood, very low middle income, and got in a lot of trouble. You know, got a whole folder in my closet here full of just like tickets that I got and trouble that I got into with the law. And, you know, grew up in addiction and stuff like that. So fast forward a little bit into that and got into digital marketing through, actually, I think the first thing I did was like affiliate marketing and just a whole other world. I think I made like $100 or something, and got into like network marketing, found Ty Lopez, built a contracting company, then finally started the agency 3 years ago in May, actually, which is pretty nuts to think about. So we're heading into finishing our third year, I guess, is how that works. But
how many clients do you have? What's your revenue numbers? Where are you at now?
Yeah, so last year we did like just under 1.3 million. I think the average clients for the year was like 50 something, 55, 60.
Okay.
And yeah, so we spent a whole year last year just like cruising at 100. We scaled up pretty quickly to that like 100 to 130 range. And then last year was just kind of bouncing in within there, maintaining. And we'll probably get into it a little bit too, but I took like 70% of the year off last year and made my COO CEO, and just kind of was wanting to like chill and not grow and just live life a little bit. But we can go deeper into that in a bit, but realized that I needed something different.
Title's going to be, you know, CEO retires 2 years into SMMA, never has to work again, 100K a month profit to his bank account every single month, right? It's kind of the vibe.
Profit, I wish. Yeah,
cool.
I wish it was 100K a month profit, but yeah, not quite.
Well, you're on your way there, which of course we'll get into. So I think your background's super inspiring. A lot of people will benefit from hearing this story. You mentioned kind of a rough childhood, a rough period leading up to when you started the contracting business, and then obviously the contracting business led into the agency, which serves contractors and kind of home services people. But how did you go from, how did you, you know, turn your life around essentially? What's that story?
Yeah, man. So once I turned 18, and it's kind of funny, and my mom was like, hey, I'm not paying for your mistakes anymore. That like kind of hit me quite a bit because I had gotten my first DUI I was 17 years old. And then so my court date was like the day before I turned 18. And the judge was just like, dude, if I see you back here as an adult, like I'm just putting you away. And so all of that, and then my mom being like, dude, you got to figure this out. And so I ended up getting sober in 12-step meetings, actually. And I think it was just like enough was enough at that point. I was tired of hurting myself, hurting the people around me, and just like not living for anything. And so then I ended up getting sober, and then I got into sales through like an MLM insurance selling company. And so that kind of like opened my eyes to entrepreneurship a little bit more, because I'd never really I didn't grow up being like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I remember growing up and like, you know, my dad lived in another state, and I remember him being like a well-off kind of businessman. And I remember like aspiring to be that, but not really knowing why. But so then when I got into like MLMs and stuff, it kind of like reopened that like desire of like, oh yeah, you know, like I do want a good life for myself. I want a family. I want financial security and all of those things. So yeah, getting sober was definitely through 12-step meetings, and then I ended up relapsing about almost 5 years from being sober, and that's when I got my second DUI. And that one was a little bit rough, man. I got in an accident. I was blackout drunk. I remember waking up in jail and asking the like officer security guy of like, why am I here? So I didn't really remember. He's like, yeah, so right now it's a felony DUI with fleeing the scene of an accident because apparently I dipped, and then felony vehicular assault with serious bodily injury. And he's like, well, the guy that you hit is currently in surgery right now and he's not doing well, so that could change, right? So essentially it could have changed to vehicular homicide and I could have not left, right? Like I would have stayed in jail for a long time. And I can giggle about it now because, you know, things worked out. God had a plan. And yeah, I just remember like praying in the jail cell, like, dude, total foxhole prayer, like, get me out of this. I'll do anything. I can't do this anymore. This, like, other people's lives are now at stake. And so that straightened me out. I got sober again. I've been sober ever since then. And
That's great.
I dealt with a lot of anxiety and like belief in who I was after that because it was so heavy. Like I remember going and getting a W-2 job after that, and they hired me on because I knew the guy. And then the HR people reached out to me and they're like, hey, we can't hire you on. You can't be here because you have a violent felony. And I was like, what? Like, and that like hit me, dude. Like, you know, like that was what the world wanted to define me as. And so I had to go through a lot of stuff to really like rework, you know, who I am and who I see myself as. And essentially my only option was business ownership after that. You know, it was either find some sort of W-2 as a felon and make a little bit of money or start a business.
Yeah. I worked with a charity for a little bit called Hustle 2.0, and they help like formerly incarcerated people start businesses because of how tough it is to get out and like just work a normal job and have some semblance of a professional life after those types of, you know, so I've seen firsthand the difficulty, and some of the most inspiring stories ever have come out of that. But
yeah, I could go.
So it was kind of, yeah, I do want you to go deeper, but it was entrepreneur by necessity, basically. But what did that look like? When did you realize that was the move?
I think it took, after that DUI, it took a while for me to get inspired again, especially since I had like the anxiety. And it wasn't just like anxiety, it was literally like paranoia and like near schizophrenia. Like I was like, I literally didn't leave my mom's house for 3 months straight because I was just like terrified of the world. And so it took a while, you know, to like kind of start getting out a little bit. And then I actually met, you know, like reconnected with a kid that I was like best friends with in middle school. And he was working like on the oil field, like 1 week on, 1 week off kind of thing. And on his week off, he was like building fences on the side. And he was like, hey man, you know, if you want to come help me out, be a hired hand, like let's do that, you know? And so I got into helping him a little bit. I mean, he was paying me like $12 an hour to be like, do some grunt work. And we end up talking and like, hey man, like, why don't we build up this business? Well, actually what happened first is we were reconnecting, and like, we both had this like idea of a better life for ourselves outside of like working for somebody else. And then so he brought me on into the fencing thing, and then we ended up seeing Ty Lopez's course way back in the day in my garage, all that crap. And we're like, oh, we need to start an SMMA, man. Like, this is the, you know, like, oh, this is the trick, dude. Lamborghinis and, you know.
Up here in the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah. And so we bought the course. What's funny is like, we didn't even like go through it that much because it was like, we didn't understand like specializing in something. Like it was just like, oh, we're just gonna do like social media management for local businesses, and that was it, you know. And then it was like that fear of like, oh, so I have to go talk to these business owners and like pitch them my service. I have no idea what I'm doing. But then we ended up at the end of that year, I think that was like 2018 or 17 or 8, I think it was 18. And we're like, hey man, we're trying to like figure out this SMMA, but like we have this thing right in front of us that's building fences, you know, and like we're starting to get a reputation. And so it was like, hey, let's build this out. And the deal was I didn't have my license, so I couldn't drive a truck. I couldn't drive the quotes. And so I was going to be like basically shadowing him and like prove myself. And then after like a little while, once I got my license, we would have like an equity deal where I would be 50-50 partners with him. And so we ended up building that company. And year one, we did like 700K. Year two, we did like 1.3. And then year three, we did over 3 million. And within that time frame, there was some of those conversations like, yo, man, I got my license now. I got the little blow and go in the car to start the car, the little breathalyzer. And, those conversations for equity like kept getting dodged. And I'm like, and I get it from a business owner standpoint at that point. It's like, well, now we're doing 1.3 a year. Like, I don't want to give half of this away or whatever, but it's like margins were not that great. So anyways, so by the fourth year, or by the end of the third year, I'd gotten so burnt out working 16, 18-hour days, just long days for like 40K a year. And I was just done, man. I was like, I want purpose in my life. I want something that I care about. And so I ended up quitting. And my solution was to go, because I love hockey. I love playing hockey. And I was like, I'm gonna go apply at Pure Hockey, which is this hockey shop, like a local well, they're actually like national, but so I got a part-time job there making $12 an hour. And that was my solution to like reset my life or whatever. But it was actually really useful because it like humbled me and it like brought me back down to ground zero. Then I met Haley, who's now my wife, who has just like pulled all of the best things out of me. Then we get pregnant. We're sinners. We got.
Did you meet her at the hockey shop?
No, we actually met online on Hinge.
Okay.
Yeah, she would like, her friends convinced her to get it, and she was on there for a week, and we met within that week. And
wow.
It was she hated it. She wasn't about it at all. But so then we get pregnant, then COVID happens. That was like, we met November of 2019. Then I get furloughed. We find out she's pregnant. I move from my apartment with my brother into the basement of her parents' house to be with her because she was pregnant. And then we're just at her parents' house for COVID. Like, just the world shut down. And probably a month into COVID, like April, my old buddy hits me up and he's like, hey, dude, I need your help with the contracting company. Like, we need someone to come in and do sales. And I'm like, okay, this is good. Like, I can get back into that and open back up that conversation of like, hey, the only way that I'm going to do this is if we're like heading towards that equity again. And so we do that. So I start doing sales again for the contracting company. And then we opened up that conversation of like the digital marketing again. Because throughout that time of building the contracting company, I was also doing like drop shipping on the side, trying to figure that out. I was just constantly YouTube, digital marketing, digital business. How do I do this?
Yeah.
And so we were opening up that conversation again of like, how do we basically, it was like start a coaching program, like how to build a contracting company, because the contracting space had nothing like that at that point. Like, there was nothing. Now there's a lot. But we were opening up that conversation too. And then probably 8 months later, or whatever it was, in November, he comes to me and he says, hey, I'm merging with this other company, this other local company. And they had 2 guys that were partners. I was like, oh, great. Yeah, we can really like open up this equity conversation now. But now there's 2 other people and they wanted nothing to do with me. They didn't want me in there. They didn't want my salary on there. They wanted to come in, get paid bigger bucks because they were doing like less numbers. And so they really like kept me from getting that equity, which is a blessing in disguise. And so they end up like, I was like fighting like, yo, give me some of this equity, man. Like, what is going on here? And they're like, okay, well, we'll give you 10% equity after you start the digital marketing side for Brothers by Nature was the company. So it was going to be like Brothers by Nature Media. And they're like, once you do 100K in sales, then we can open up the conversation for equity. And then this was early 2021. And then I was just like, that was a slap to the face. I was like, no way, man. You know what? I'm going to do this myself. And so I just quit. And then I made a post in this group and was like, yo, who wants me to run their Facebook ads? And got some people going, and then took my first payment May 1st, 2021 for Fuse Media. And the rest is history.
Okay. So that
was a very long-winded way to answer a question that I don't even think I gave you the full answer.
No, it was great. Great. The group that you went to, it was just like a contracting group where people already knew you, or you just found a random group?
It was a paid contracting group. So that was one of the things that was like trying to encourage us of like, hey, this works. Like we could start a coaching program. Like contractors are getting open to this digital world. Mm-hmm. And so we were paying $100 a month to be in this group that was just kind of like a networking group for contractors where they could learn and grow or whatever. And so I wasn't like active in there really. You know, I would talk to people in the comments a little bit, and then I just randomly, like, it was like a Hail Mary. It was like, I got to figure something else out. I just quit this. Like, I got to try and get some income in. I just had a kid a few months ago. Like, we got to figure something out. And within that time too, I also started day trading. I was one of those guys through COVID too that really got into that. And I was actually making like decent money. So that's just a side tangent. But
man of many talents.
Master of none. Yeah, so I made a post in there. I literally went into our QuickBooks. I was like, yo, we did 1 million Q1 this year, all from Facebook ads. Who wants me to run their ads? And then one guy who's actually, you know, Lawson, or you know of, he apparently his dad wrote a book about being the first to like try something or something like that, and which I found out later out, but like he was the first one that took a chance on me, which was like crazy. And he closed like a $90,000 job week 1 of running his ads. And then so he started posting in the group about me when anyone was asking like, yo, I need help marketing. He would just start posting me, and I just became like the authority in that group. It was like Michael Schreiber got tagged. Like I've made 0 more posts. I made 1 post in that group actually on top of that when we started doing Google ads, and that was just the post. But yeah, we did 11K our first month.
Dope.
And that was May of 2021. And the year 2021, we did 252,000 or something like that.
Sweet.
And so it's like I hit that 100K mark too, that like would have gotten me that 10% equity too. But like I made leaps and bounds more money doing this on my own than like getting stuck with that contracting. But it all worked out, man. Like it's so cool to like look back and see how like I just wanted all of these things to work for so many years. And it was like I was just being developed that entire time. Like I wish I could have saw it like that when I was in it, because all of the skills that I learned throughout just stacked into being able to handle what became Fused Media.
Yeah. It's like change happens slowly until it happens all at once.
Yeah. It took 6 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah. Yes. I love the come up story here, because I think there's a lot of people in similar situations where they get like somebody's promising them, like holding this carrot, like, oh, you know, you're going to get X amount. And like, they just had this little tiny bit of insecurity that's like, I don't think I could do this on my own. You know, I'm not a business owner. How could I make it? And then really, you know, they realize that 6 months into it, it's not that difficult. It's just this mental barrier that keeps a lot of people in a non-equity position, just on salary, just on W-2 for their whole life. Talk a little bit more about that for someone who may be in that situation where they seem to be getting, you know, stuffed from getting on the cap table, and they're just not sure if they can make that jump in their head to being a business owner from the employee.
Dude, that's a really great thing to bring up, because I actually did think a lot about that when I like look back at it. And because we were trying to do that SMMA in the beginning, we were trying to do like a coaching program. Like I went out and bought a camera. We bought a camera. I was like following him around, you know, to be like the face of it. And it was like I was waiting for his permission to take action, or I was waiting for him to like be a part of that, when I had it all in myself the whole time. Like I just didn't believe in myself. And part of that was like, I still was dealing with the anxiety, which is like super fear-based emotion, you know, and like just identity. I had no idea who I was until I started taking the actions, to prove to myself that I was different than what I was telling myself I was previously.
That's powerful. I tell my students, like, mindset wise, there's 2 ways to change your beliefs. First is like repeat the beliefs that you want to believe over and over again, which works to a degree. But the other one that's actually very much proven by science is just like act in the way that somebody who believes that would. And then all of a sudden it becomes true.
Give yourself some receipts to look at. Like, I did this.
I like that. So were you the one running the Facebook ads for the contracting company, or you just kind of saw what was going on?
Yeah, there was one guy that ran some ads as well, but I also did our ads. And then I was doing like e-com drop shipping. And so that's where I like really learned Facebook ads. I did like Star Wars phone cases in like a Shopify store, and I started selling them, and I was like, damn, this is good. I'm working, man. And then I got a cease and desist from freaking Disney and Facebook that was like, provide us with like the licensing that you have to resell this. And I was like, well, I guess my drop shipping career is over.
Yeah, that's always fun. I actually had a Smile Direct Club, if you're familiar with them. They're like a mail-in aligner company, so you don't have to go to the Invisalign doctor or the orthodontist. And I just made like this meme about Smile Direct, and I included the name Smile Direct Club in it. It's like the guy walking down the street, and like the girl's like he's looking back at the other girl, and the jealous girlfriend's looking. And I was just like, oh, this is hilarious. We ran it as an ad, and like didn't take 2 days, and we had a cease and desist from Smile Direct Club. And it's just fun to like start out, Yeah. I think there's, going back to things that hold people back from getting started, like they think someone's going to steal your idea, you're going to get in legal trouble, you're going to do all this stuff if you don't know what you're doing. Like, you can't just start a business. And like, really at the end of the day, the consequences for doing something like what we did in the Star Wars and the Smile Direct Club examples are usually just an email that says, hey, take this down, and then you move on with your life.
And it's a small, like, just like we were talking about, it's a small receipt of proving that like you can do it, And that's kind of what it was for me, was like I did see a little bit of the success. It was just changing the vehicle.
Yeah.
Because that was what took so long too, to even like offer in that group, was like, so I knew it worked in Colorado, and I could, and I was like, what, Colorado legalized weed a few years before that, a lot of people are moving here. Maybe that's why the ads are working so well for us. And so it was like, I had this like disbelief of like, that it was just a fluke. Like I was just getting lucky,
Wait, so you thought that the weed was the reason for the Facebook ad success, or just because people were moving?
Because people were moving.
Okay.
Yeah. So when Colorado legalized weed, like so many people moved here. They were building like crazy, and then COVID even changed that even more too. And so I was like, is this just a fluke? Am I just getting lucky? And so it was like really taking that chance to figure out it wasn't just luck. Like I could duplicate this to other people's businesses in other areas, and we've just continued to do that. And so, yeah, man.
Cool. Yeah, it's a little Hormozy gym launch action. Okay, so what was your process like for the contracting company? Like, were you just printing money with ads? And as every agency owner finds at some point, like, it doesn't work quite as well when you don't understand the local area. You don't control every single variable in the business. What was it like? First of all, how did you get great results for your business? And do you know what those numbers and ROI looked like? Talk to us about the challenges of rolling that out to other markets with clients and all of the headaches and potential amazing things that come along with that. But
yeah, I didn't learn about tracking and like ROAS and ROI and all of that until after I started Fuse Media, and was like, I need a way to like tell people their results. And I learned that was like a natural practice, right? And that's like for the beginner, like, someone that has like been watching YouTube for 3 years probably thinks I'm an idiot, right? And it's like, good, think that I am an idiot. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm still making it work. So stop like sitting there just watching videos and go take action and figure it out, and go mess up,
yes.
But yeah, so I wasn't like super familiar with the numbers. We weren't spending a lot. I think that part was due to the fact that there was so much building in the local economy in Colorado that we really only had to spend like $500 a month on ads, maybe 1,000, and we were closing a couple $100,000 a month.
Nice.
And so it was like super simple. And now those numbers look completely different, right? Like nationwide. And so it's just adapting to that and just continuing to try and be on the forefront of like different strategies to get better results.
And do you work with contractors in every single like niche of contracting or service? Like what's the widest range that you've worked with?
We have, man, and part of that was because most of our client acquisition was that group for, up until like a couple months ago. And even still now, like referral partnerships and organic is like our number one thing right now. We're just like February 1st, we're turning on ads. We partnered with someone to help us out on that end because of the fact that like when working for those groups, the target person in that group, some of them might be like ideal people that we want to work with. A lot of them are like brand new. So they take that risk with the last couple grand on their credit card and they don't close $100,000 job in 2 weeks and they're freaking out and they cancel. And it's like, it's because it's a wrong fit. So we are moving forward. That's why we're trying to bring in ads more, is so that we know that we can be picky and choosy from those organic relationships. Mm-hmm. And with ads, we can really set the tone for the market that we want to work with. And that market is like luxury service contractors. Okay. And so that is pretty broad still, but it is more like we know that like the best results that we can get and the people that understand the process are people that are closing a little bit higher jobs. They're doing a little bit more in revenue to start. So that's where we're going. But we have worked with pressure washers, mower, people that do maintenance. We've worked with large scale pool builders, remodelers, like a lot of different people.
Yeah. I literally got a DM today that said, "Hey, Keaton, I've been reaching out to people in the home services and contracting industry for 2 months, and nobody at all is interested in working with an agency. Is SMMA dead? And should I just do like done for you, UpHex plus ads? Like, do I have to switch my model?" What's your response to something like that?
I'd say that there's 100% room for both, but SMMA is not dead. Just like a short answer for that.
So what's the problem? Like why are all the people he's reaching out to saying they don't want an agency?
If he's new, his offer probably sucks. The way, like I'd really have to like go in deep of like, what are you doing? How are you talking to them? What are you offering them? And honestly, it's just reps. That's another thing of like Hermosi videos of like, if we asked him, how many people have you actually talked to? Maybe 7. Mm-hmm. X that.
Yeah.
Before you write it off, so that'd kind of be my thing there. The offer probably sucks. He doesn't have enough reps to like figure out how to offer it to people. And the fact that he's considering doing the UpHex coaching thing means that he doesn't have belief in the SMMA in general. So when you're talking to these contractors, that rubs off on them. They see that you don't even have belief in your own product, so why would it work for you? There's a lot to unpack into that,
Of course. I just wanted to get the, Michael Schreiber expert opinion.
Yeah, we do offer consulting, man. Like there's people where it makes sense of like, they don't need an agency, they want to bring it in-house. And so instead of them just learning on their own, we have a service where we can consult for them and teach them how to bring that in-house and basically what we would do.
All of the growth has come pretty much through referrals, this contractor network that you were a part of. At some point, you yourself linked up with Iman, the man himself, the top G of the SMMA space, let's call him. And he gave you a piece of advice that you followed for a time and now you're sort of discarding. Tell us about that, because I think a lot of people will be interested in this conversation. Yeah, talk to us about the progress now as you've moved on from that advice.
Yeah, so I was talking to a buddy of mine when I was about to start the agency and just trying to figure it out. And there was a point where he was going to start an agency. And then I sold my first client and I was like, what do I do now? And my buddy was like, oh, go watch Iman. He has a course or whatever. So I took $1,000 payment from a client and I spent that plus I think like $200 more to get Iman's course at that time. agency navigator or incubator, I think it was back then. Then a couple months after that, I bought Copy Paste Agency, which came with a one-on-one coaching call with Iman. And at that point, we were doing like 40K a month. And I was like, I'm going to save this call. I don't want to have this call with him right now. I want to wait until we're a little further along. So I actually waited like a year, and then I dug that email up because it was like a specific link to book with Iman. And I dug that email up, and I was like, all right, I'm going to talk with this dude. I thought I was so cool, man. Like, because we were doing 100K a month, and, I was like, yeah, like, you can get respect from Iman, and he couldn't care less. First of all, the beginning of last year, 2023. And so we were scaling. Like last year, the goal was 4 million in revenue. And we were, that jump was going to be from like 1.1 million to 4 million. And so I'm like, yeah, we're scaling, we're doing all this stuff. He's like, dude, why not just like stay at 100K and profit? Because we were super profitable at that point. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what do you know, man? Like, you just don't want me to come after you and your agency. Like, I was really like arrogant of it, of like thinking I was like hot stuff, And then we started scaling and things got really tough. And I got really stressed and really burnt out really quickly. And then I started thinking again about his advice. And I was like, you know what? I have this business that I can literally walk away from right now at 100K a month run rate and not work. And I was like, Iman's right. And I just want to profit and use those profits to invest. So I did that. I made my COO, CEO last year in like, I don't even know when, I think it was April, maybe May. And I just kind of did my own thing. I was dipping into consulting and coaching and just trying to figure out all of this stuff of like what to do. I was going to be GHL affiliate. That's how we met. I was going to start doing like YouTube and all this stuff. My ties to Fuse Media at that point was once a month I would meet with the CPA or the bookkeeper to go over the numbers. And then bi-weekly, I would have a meeting with the managers to kind of just like get an overview of what's going on. But I just always remember like still trying to push them for growth in the company, because that's just naturally inside of me, is to grow. But they didn't have the systems for that. Dylan, my COO, who was the CEO, was doing everything. He was doing account management. He was doing COO, CEO, everything. And that's not sustainable, So by the end of last year, I was like, what am I doing? And I realized, like, number one, I didn't have an agency that I could sell. Even though I was so proud of, like, I had an agency that I could take myself away from. No one was going to buy my agency for a good price because it was solely dependent upon the one operator. So I had this, like, owner-operator duplicatable business. But for me, it didn't feel good that in that, Dylan had to risk his family time. Dylan had to risk his mental bandwidth in order to make that company run. And so it was like, I just had to sit back and be like, dude, like, what do I want? I want to grow. I want to grow as a human. And entrepreneurship is a really great place to do that, to challenge yourself in tons of different ways. And I really wanted my company to align with its core values and like treat people well. And a lot of that is the growth aspect of it. And so, short story long, I decided to come back as CEO, and the goal's not 4 million this year. So in 2023, we like grew by like 200K from the year prior, and our profits actually dipped a little bit. But I worked, 4 months that year.
Yeah.
So, it's not that bad, but our goal is 2.5 million this year instead of 4 million, because then I realized, like, sure, you can have these like crazy goals, but like, don't kill yourself in the process, like we have time, like there's time to build. And so, yeah, I'm stepping back in. I mean, there's tons of stuff we're doing right now. We just decided on person for account manager that we're bringing on. We just finished those interviews. We just hired someone as an SEO specialist. We just hired a tech marketing guy for all of our like GHL tech and the automations and integrations and all that. So right now we're like really taking the hit on profit to scale the team to support where we want to get to.
Very cool. I want to dive into your operator, because what you've described is rare. I think partnerships where, one person's on fulfillment and one person's on sales is pretty common. I see that a lot. But a founder that has found someone to essentially run the whole business while he plays golf or whatever,
Yep.
is is more rare. So I'm not as interested in how you found him, because basically the answer is networking. But how did you structure the deal and the arrangement to make sure that that didn't fail? Because I think probably 80% of arrangements like that don't turn out unless you've got venture capital money.
Yeah. So a lot of that with him, he did have a very small agency when we were having those conversations. He had one client that was in our industry that I was like, oh, we could keep this and this could like be negotiation into the deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that I needed to duplicate myself. That's all I knew moving forward. You know, a lot of people will hire like a sales rep first or account manager. I was like, I need to duplicate myself so someone can like take over what I'm doing so I can think about all the other stuff and process and expand the vision for all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I need to find me, how am I supposed to bring this person on the team? Because me, I wouldn't go work for someone else, you know? And so I was like, how do you structure this deal in a way to where it could entice that person without giving away a ton of the company? And I actually gave away zero, like, front end equity. We had a vesting schedule for phantom equity. And that was basically it, was, you know, aligning the vision, right? Like, what do you want? And making sure that like we can be the vehicle to help you get there. And then that end goal of like, if we did sell, you know, you would get paid for your efforts. And then protecting myself on that end too, of like, you would only get paid 100% of those efforts if you were with us long enough to do it. So it's like, you can't just like leave in a year and be like, yeah, you know, buy back this phantom equity for me or something like that. But yeah, he's a great person. He's a hired gun. He can do a lot of things. I don't think the CEO role was the best for him. I think that his talents lie in different areas, and that's where we're focusing on moving forward. But he did have enough talent and enough skill to manage and operate that. But again, you know, his life was struggling on the back end, you know, like to an extent. And I don't mean to like dump his stuff on there. It was the same as me, right? Like I got overwhelmed. I was not being a great husband. I was not being a great father. I wasn't hitting those standards of who I wanted to be. And I think he felt the same thing. And so that's another reason why it was important for me to come back in, build the systems in the company for someone to take over where they don't have to sacrifice their entire life.
Yes. 2 notes here. Number 1, if you don't know what phantom equity is, it just means it's realized when you sell, not at any other time. And then secondly, I think a very misunderstood thing in this space is like, to find super high quality talent, you have to have a super high quality product. Product meaning workspace, work-life balance, pay, benefits, culture, everything goes into that. And I made a post the other day about how you're going to make your business suck way less if you don't go cheap. If you go cheap, like I promise you, you're going to regret it down the line. Hiring people that don't know what they're doing, that you have to train up, it's just a surefire recipe for being frustrated at pretty much everything that happens. Now, when you're a beginner, obviously you don't have as much money, and so you have to give up equity or have to give up something so that that person has some sort of future promise of a bigger payout. But also we live in a world where geo arbitrage is a thing. You can go overseas and it's not that hard to pay someone the equivalent of $250,000 a year in their country, give them an amazing work-life balance, 6 hours a day of work. Anybody can do that and get paid $250,000. Like, that's a great arrangement. And if you can find the equivalent of that, take that overseas, there's a lot of really smart people who can work for you for $2,000-$3,000 a month and be living it up where they live. I just think there's so much misinformation about VAs and other people running your entire business out there that it's important to know, like, people need stability and they need good pay and a good work-life balance. If you can do that, like that, almost 0% of companies provide that. And so you being long-term, all of those things is essential for building a team that doesn't require all of your mental energy to maintain.
Dude, and the VA culture now, like, they're asking for more and more money. Every month that goes on, they're like, we know that either you hire someone in the US for, $60K salary, or you're trying to hire here for $4 an hour. And so they're slowly scaling up, man. I mean, like, we pay anybody that's overseas is paid so freaking well, like nearly like they're in the US, and they're balling out there where they're at, dude.
Yeah.
But I think that's another misconception too, is like clients see that as a bad thing, but like they're human beings too. Just because their English is not that great does not mean that their brain is not completely wired to be the same or better than someone that is in the United States.
Yeah. There's a lot of prejudice out there. Some context here again. From my side, one of the most successful hires I've ever made is my current kind of jack of all trades right-hand man. He lives in Tunisia, and I pay him a percentage of revenue every month. So it's not like real equity, but it's, he has some sort of tie to actually like get things done. And then I pay him a base salary, and like he's crushing it. And he works 6 hours a day, and like he loves the work arrangement. I love the work arrangement. And he's been watching how to make money online videos since he was 16, and like putting the work in, trying to start businesses, all that kind of thing. So he's not brand new either. And these people exist, like they really do. They're out there. They're super hungry. They want to be given a chance by somebody in a more fortunate situation. Just being born in the US is an insane fortunate situation. And it feels amazing to be that employer that's giving the right type of workplace environment, the tech salaries of the internet, basically. So super highly encourage anybody that's struggling or thinking, oh, I don't know how to do this. Literally just think, what would I want at a job? Write it all down, and then go find somebody who wants that too. It won't be that hard.
Yeah, man. We pay 100% medical for the employee and all of their dependents too.
Wow. Overseas, right? Or here?
No, USA.
Very cool.
Overseas, they don't have as much option there. So what we do is, in the Philippines, there's this thing called like a Mexicare card. And it's basically like, it just makes all of their health expenses extremely cheaper. So we just buy that for them every year, renew it every year. Yeah.
So cool. With the little bit of time we have left, I want to hear the growth plan. How are you getting to 2.5 million this year?
Yeah, dude. So honestly, it boils down really simple to 3 metrics: increasing sales, reducing churn, and increasing average price point per client. And in order to do that, in order to shift the chess pieces in a way to where we can focus on those things, we needed to free up my time and Dylan's time. And that looks like account manager, SEO team, and tech marketing.
Is the SEO service new to you guys? Okay.
Yeah. We've been doing it probably for maybe like 8 months now, but Dylan was managing all of it. And it was like, I don't know a lot about it. I was like, dude, if we want to bring this on, you need to prove to me that we can do it. We can do it well. We can get great results. And so he started doing it and taking it on. And now we're at the place where we are doing that. So now we can train people to do it. Mm-hmm. And so we brought on one person, and a second person that's coming on pretty soon too. But because that's part of increasing price point, is now we're doing a package of Facebook ads plus SEO. And obviously that's going to be more expensive. So that's increasing price point. The getting more sales side, we partnered with an agency that's going to help us run our ads. I'm going to be doing all of the sales for a little bit, building out the sales team, and then account management we are hiring in, which is we could go a whole other hour about how that's been for us and how to make the best hire for that. But someone that, can do what we did and relate to these guys at the same way that we can relate to them, so that we can reduce churn. And then that's literally the equation there. And then honestly, I think we nail this. We do more than our goal.
And so the average price point per customer is just layering on more services, going after bigger fish that can afford, it's more worth it. The same amount of work for you guys is more worth it for them. So therefore you can charge more. When it comes to the account management side, is this like, you're talking about the client facing person that's going to talk them off the cliff basically when they're having a rough day? How is that hiring process been? And I assume that person's stateside.
Yes. Yeah, they're local. We're actually we just talked about that this morning who we're going to pick. She's in Illinois.
Nice.
And the hiring process, so I've tried to hire an account manager before, at least 2 last year and 2 the year before. Honestly, what it took was, number one, me realizing what I had to do coming back into this business as CEO and removing it from owner-operator type operation to a systemized for everybody operation. And what that takes is very defined roles, so now we have a mission statement for the account manager. They know exactly what their mission is within the company. We have the key objectives for them, and then the KPIs to where they hit their bonuses on there. And so just getting so clear on that. And then I know we're like running out of time, but developing enough as a human, as a leader to like understand humans and like the interviewing process and the questions that you need to ask in order to get the information out of that person to where you can make the most informed decision on, is this person going to be someone that can fulfill the job at the level that we want? So that's the too long didn't read version.
I love that. What you just said is so underrated, like being able to read someone. A lot of beginners will go in with, like, all I do is listen to what they say. They don't listen to what the person does. Listen to what the person does. Watch what the person does. And it's just so, like, as the interview process is, so will the relationship be after you hire them. If they're late, they can't figure out Zoom, they're slow responding to emails, they're weird, like, they're going to be all of those things after you hire them. Don't kid yourself, and it pays so many dividends. Is if like you did a hiring round and nobody seems to be the fit, then move on and just do another round, because it's so much headache to onboard somebody and then offboard them 2 months later and be in a worse spot trying to find someone to replace them.
It costs more to make the wrong hire. Yeah,
so much more. Michael, thanks so much for coming on, man. This, I think, will inspire a lot of people. Any last words for a beginner starting out in 2024?
Thanks for having me, first of all. And I would just it would just take so long to truly say everything that I would want to say, but just be willing to mess up. Be willing to be wrong. Like, everyone that you see online is not as smart as you think, and they typically have no idea what they're doing. They're figuring out in the process. And so these pictures that we build of these successful people in our head, we think that they just have it all figured out and they have the answers to everything right away. We are all constantly learning, and it's just being crazy enough and dumb enough to like take the first step and mess up a couple times until you figure it out. And then those mess ups and those first steps just become bigger and bigger and more revenue generating, and you just keep growing. So just be willing to fail. That's it.
Thanks so much. We'll catch you next time when you've done 2.5 or more this year. We'll do a recap next year.
Cool, man. That'll be fun. Thanks for having me, man. See ya.